we know we didn't get a Texas A&M video out to you guys. There's a lot of stuff going on. Don't worry, we'll be bringing these games. We're going to bring these games. We're going to probably talk a little bit about the Texas A&M game as we preview the NCAA tournament. It's March Madness, y'all. It's the best sporting event of the year. I don't care what anyone says. It's unmatched. I had a coworker trying to tell me that Stanley Cup is so great. Dude, there ain't no other event that's got a buzzer beater in a one-game series. Like, it's just the best event there is. March is the best. And we're here to break down not all of the brackets. We're not going to be those guys that try to tell you that I know everything about all these teams. I know a little. I mean, I know a little bit about most of these teams. You know, at least the Power Five ones. I've watched a lot of basketball this year, but we're going to talk about Arkansas's path. That's what I think we're going to mainly talk about, and doing so, probably talk about some of the things we saw in the Texas A&M game that will need to get cleaned up, fixed, areas of concern, but also like what it is that maybe gives Musselman a chance to do the hardest run yet in March. And we'll see if he's got it in him. Ain't no Colgates on the schedule this run. We are an 8 seed. We are in the 8-9 game against Illinois. If you win that game, you get the rewarded with playing number 1 seed Kansas. So I mean it's a rough road to hoe. Jake, what are your initial thoughts on the bracket and just the Illinois draw? I don't know. Have you watched Illinois this year at all?
I've seen them play a couple of times,
Or
but I actually can't remember a lot about them.
bigs?
Um,
It's Big Ten, dude. They got bigs. This is what you got to know. Are you playing a Big Ten team? They have big guys every single time. That's what it is. The Big Ten is post players, blocking shots, getting rebounds. Probably our guards are better. This is the case with Illinois. Our guards are better than Illinois' guards, but they are big. They got shot blockers. They can clog the lane. Problem is, that's exactly where we want to be to score.
yeah, I mean, the Texas A&M game, there's not a lot to say about it. I mean, they played really good for the first half,
Really good.
and kind of it's weird because it's such an inversion from the past few years where Musselman has been an adjustment coach, and we've always said like he's that we always start generally in the last few years we started slow, and then Musselman makes some adjustments at halftime, usually defensive adjustments, and we come out and play better in the second half and outscore teams. I mean, I think you could probably look at the last couple of years, and we probably outscored teams by I don't know 5 or 10 points in the second half to win close games. It's been exactly the opposite this year. We'll come out and we'll look really good, and then the other team makes halftime adjustments, or sometimes we just play bad. But I mean, our shooting percentage went through the floor again. We couldn't make any shots. We started to struggle to defend without fouling in the second half of that game. And at this point, that kind of just looks like that's who Arkansas is. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that they can't improve and figure some stuff out along the way, but it's one and done now. You're just basically like all teams, hoping that your team goes out there and is able to execute what they do well and doesn't have a bad game, because Arkansas is not a good enough team. There's some teams in this tournament, like maybe Alabama, that will be able to beat their B game will beat a lot of teams' A games, and their B game will beat a ton of teams, B games. Like they can play poorly and still win. Arkansas can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas is not, I mean, unless another team just really comes out and lays an egg, like they're going to have to play well. They're just not effective enough on defense or offense to have a half like they did against Texas A&M and really expect to win I mean, giving up 14-point leads, shooting, in the 30s percentile from the floor, shooting one of like 15 from the 3-point line. That's just not going to work because every team we're going to play is going to be good from now on. Like I said, the where we are in the bracket, Illinois is good. Obviously, Kansas is going to be good. If you were able to get past them, whoever you play after that's going to be, you know, it's Gonzaga or UConn or somebody like that. Like it's going to be great teams. And we're basically just at this point, I think, fingers crossed and hope those guys can make some shots because I think all these team strategy is going to be the same as they're going to look at the film and they're going to go, we're going to make these guys shoot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're going to try to keep us from scoring driving layups. And we're going to either have to hope that if we do settle for shots, that they go in because that happens to us a few times. But mostly we're going to have to hope our guys are able to pass effectively enough in close quarters inside the 3 point line to get us dunks and layups, and that we don't just settle for long jump shots or do what we did against Kentucky and just take really difficult contested shots in the paint that don't go in, you know?
I think the secret to winning some games, winning this first game, having a shot against a team like Kansas is going to be this: is that Arkansas is going to have to get to the free throw line a bunch. They're going to have to not let the fact that teams are packing it in stop them from taking it to the basket, and they need to go get fouled. Now, you have to make free throws. I think as the free throw shooting percentage goes, assuming you are not abandoning the strategy and just settling for perimeter jump shots, but if you do what you're supposed to do, put your head down, you run the stuff, you're trying to get to the cup, and you're getting fouled. I think that we're gonna see, I think a lot of these. I think these first couple games, man, if you win, we'll just say this first game, so we're not counting any chickens before they hatch. This first game, I'll tell you this: if Arkansas shoots 60% from the free throw line, I don't think we win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds simple, but like that's big part of what we do. And so even if we do everything the way we're supposed to, which is don't settle, keep going to the basket, get fouled, we need to shoot in the 70s from the free throw line in this game to win it. I think it's not just that simple, but I can't guarantee you. I predict right now, if Arkansas shoots less than 72% as a team from the free throw line in this game, we don't win.
I think that's probably right because, I mean, obviously you've got to do the other things, which is, I mean, not turn the ball over, try to get offensive rebounds, try to keep the other team from getting offensive rebounds. All that stuff's important. But I expect it's hard for me to see how Illinois would blow us out. And in that case, then, the free throw thing won't come into play as much. It'll be more like, can we hit some threes? But I feel like it's going to be a close game.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I mean, in these close games that are under 6 points, free throws become paramount for us because we're got Council and these guys just driving towards the basket. So I think that's probably right. That's probably a spot to look at. Black, Council, and Smith making their free throws. And probably, like you said, if it's a big man battle down low a little bit, hope that the Mitchell twins can at least give you some of, not miss all their free throws and give you 65% or so. But the next game, if they were to win against Illinois, which I definitely do not think is a sure thing.
Well, just real quick about Illinois. Before, you might be like, oh, we're favorites, 8-9 matchup. They're a 9. Okay. You are talking about a team that was capable of beating UCLA, who's a 2 seed. They did that. They beat UCLA. They beat Texas at Texas. I don't know if you remember us in a little exhibition game. I know it's early. I know it didn't count. But what I'm telling you is that Illinois has 2 wins that are better than any win on our record.
Mm-hmm.
We have no win that is as good as either of those wins. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying that. I mean, This is not a hey, we're favored. You're not. This is not. This is gonna
there's no
be. This is
there's no
tough.
favor in an 8-9 matchup.
No.
That's it. You're just parsing tiny little fractions of strength of schedules and stuff like it. There's definitely no wrong favor. I don't know what the Vegas odds are, but I bet they are right down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I do think this year, if you're thinking about it, I was trying to put my finger on it. I don't know. Maybe we talked about this, but like what's the difference this year? Like what is the thing that we're struggling with? And because I think by most people's standards and most people's opinion, this is the most talented team that Musselman's had. You just go by just talent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have an injury and that kind of stuff. I think the thing that's different is that when you're out there, you have Black, you have Smith, sometimes Walsh. You have a lot of youth on the perimeter, and obviously Devo's an older guy now, but in the previous seasons, he's had Jimmy Witt and Jalen Tate, which is like fifth year senior guards, right? And those guys ran the show. They weren't the best player on the team, but they were in charge. And I think we've missed that. I don't think we have like that veteran fifth year senior guard. I think it's just made a big difference. And I think that Devo is trying to be that, but I don't. And Devo is so good at a lot of things, particularly. I mean, he's an elite defender, and I don't know if he's got that fifth year senior composure kind of thing that Witt and Tate had. Uh, I think that's part of why this has felt different.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's why the second half thing, when we haven't been able to pull through at the end of games, you know, and it does seem like maybe that's is um, a product of we've at Arkansas never been in this position where we have this talented of guys that are this young.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like our talented guys usually are developed. Yeah, I mean, generally, and then maybe like you said, you have a one guy that's really good thrown in there that can play when he's a freshman. We haven't even been
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
that as many.
You have a Gafford or a Moody or whatever, but they're surrounded by a lot of age.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think that matters on defense too. Like obviously these guys are good individual defenders at times, but to play against sophisticated, well-coached offenses, there's just really nothing you can do for experience. I
Mm.
mean, you play with we play basketball quite a bit, and the difference in team defense when you're playing with a group of guys that are like in their late 20s, early 30s versus when we go up there and play against teenagers, the teenagers are way faster and they've got they can jump out of the gym, but you can just back cut them. You can
Mm.
set screens on them and roll in ways that they don't know how to cover guys instinctively yet. And while obviously, I mean, these guys are exceptional players and Musselman's coaching them up, and I'm not saying that they're like as bad defenders, but I do think at times there are lapses in team defense, and it's based on just there's nothing you can do to make people have experience. It just takes reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, Anthony Black is a really, really good defender. I mean, he's got a great body for defense. I mean, he's huge and he's fast for his size and all that kind of stuff. Is he as good a defender as Jimmy Witt or Jalen Tate was? Like, no. I mean, of course not. I mean, those guys were seasoned vet elite defenders, and knew how to not just stop their guy, but knew how to play defense in a way that uh it's not anyone's fault. Like it's about minutes on the floor. College, you're a level up. You're in college now. This is SEC basketball, and those guys were used to the level of play.
mhm. Yeah,
And
I think youth has been it's been a transition period for us to as a fan base to learn like this is what Kentucky's been going through for
mm,
years, which is schizophrenic, like super talented schizophrenic teams where it's like they go out one night and just destroy a great team and it's like, oh, they're world beaters, and then they'll lose to somebody crazy and in a fashion where you're like, how does that happen? And it's just they they start to lose and things get in their head and it snowballs on them. And sometimes an older, more like less talented team can beat you up if you're inexperienced on defense.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and just to put it out there, I mean, this won't happen because Anthony Black's gonna be gone after this year. But if he wasn't, and if Anthony Black was a fifth-year senior, I think he would be that guy.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think Walsh will be a great defender. I mean, he is a good defender, but I think he'll be much better. Um,
Walsh needs to come back.
Council, Council, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like Council just he's a good defender, but it doesn't seem like that's really what he's committed to so
Mm-hmm.
much. You know what I mean? Um,
Devo's an
but
elite defender. He's great. Devo's obviously very and Devo will be back, I'm sure.
yeah, Devo's
Devo's
one of those.
great. And like when I say like Jim and Tate, Jimmy Witt, you're like, what about Devo, man? It's the same kind of guy, like defensive minded guy. He's a junior, so he's not as old as those guys. A little bit different disposition, but Devo is like going to be an all time Arkansas favorite. I think Devo's probably going to use his COVID year. I think we're probably going to get 2 more seasons out of Devo. He's a junior. He's probably going to be a fifth-year senior and stay, and he'll be one of the most loved Razorbacks of all time. And when he's a fifth-year senior, he probably will be that guy.
Well, he's already on the defensive All SEC team, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, like
yeah.
he's already proven. Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. I even on football and basketball. I love when you have seniors.
Mm-hmm.
They're just smarter and like I said, more seasoned. I mean, whenever Arkansas has a bunch of young guys and football or basketball, and we go to play a team, they're like, this team's got
Or starting
all
seniors.
yeah. Or if it's on football, and they're like, they have 8 fifth-year seniors on their offensive team. Like that's not good.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter that none of those. It doesn't matter that it's Louisiana Tech and none of those guys are going pro. Right now, a fifth-year senior is better than an 18-year-old kid that is going to be a freak when he's 25. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so yeah, I mean that's the double-edged sword about being great and recruiting these one and done guys is you get the talent, but you don't get the experience, and you kind of never get the experience like
yeah,
unless you can get somebody like Devo that stays for a long time.
yeah. Well, let's go through this. I'll tell you right now. I'm just looking it up. I filled out my bracket. It's a
I
it's a
haven't filled
pretty
mine out yet.
it's a pretty homery bracket. I'm not gonna lie. Let me see if I can get this pulled up here. Where are my brackets here, man?
I will say at Kansas, I mean, I don't think Arkansas has, you know, I wouldn't put money on Arkansas to beat Kansas. I obviously any team can beat another team on any given day. I will say I like playing the better teams on I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but on the second day, uh, just because it doesn't, I guess what I'm saying is I'm scared for Arkansas in the second weekend if they were to make it. Say they were to beat Kansas.
I love Musselman with 1 day turnaround.
Well, I do too, but I think Arkansas is a team that is particularly vulnerable to intensive scheming by another good coach because we do have a lot of weaknesses and our
Well,
players have.
yeah, I think it's both those things. I think Arkansas is vulnerable to like having a scheme drawn up and implemented, and I also think we might have the best coach in the country at coming up with something for your team in 24 hours.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I actually like that about like I would rather. I mean, I'm scared for Arkansas if they get to the second weekend and if a good team has a chance to scheme an entire week against us. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we're vulnerable to a full week of practice against, like playing a off man or a like zone or something. And if a team has, a whole week to practice against that, I am scared of that versus Kansas having to scheme for, their first day and then only having basically one practice to work to try to figure out Arkansas. I'm not saying it, gives us an advantage or anything, but I'm just saying I think that's our best chance of just going out there and surprising them with those bodies. I mean, Anthony Black and those guys could be like, if I don't like you having a whole week to scheme against us.
Yeah.
So I
So
don't think that it's impossible that we could surprise somebody like Kansas, but
no, so I mean, here's my totally
I'm
homer
more
bracket.
I'm more worried about Illinois because Illinois does have
Yeah,
4 days to practice. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
My totally homer bracket is this. I've got Arkansas beating Illinois. I've got Arkansas beating Kansas for the exact reason we just talked about. Just like I'll take Musselman on the quick turnaround. I've got so I've got Arkansas then in the Sweet 16. I've got Arkansas beating Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 because just
God dang.
happened just happened to have Gonzaga going through there, and I've seen Gonzaga a couple times, and honestly, I think they're not as good as last year, and I think their guards are especially weak. I don't think their guards can hang with our guards at all.
Hmm.
I don't think they have anybody uh, to do anything with Anthony Black and Nick. Now Dave Drew Timmy, but we have twins to throw at him, and we'll just rack up the fouls, whatever you gotta do. But it's a homer bracket, so I got us beating Gonzaga. We've got in the final four. I do have Arkansas
Good
playing.
Lord. Is this a wish list or?
Well, we got to play Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
Mhm.
Let's see here. What's my thing here? So I got us beating. Let's see, beating Illinois, beating Kansas, beating Gonzaga. Um, I'm sorry, beating St. Mary's. Sorry, beating St. Mary's.
Oh.
That's okay. So there you go. I'm skipping a step here. Beating Illinois, beat Kansas, beat St. Mary's, then beating Gonzaga, just to own the West Coast Conference. Just beat them both back to back. Why not? Final four rematch with Texas. Texas versus Arkansas. I think we're better than we were then. I'll take Arkansas to beat Texas, go to the national championship, and unfortunately lose to Alabama.
Hmm. I mean, I would take it. I mean, I think I got to fill out two brackets. I got to fill out my wish list bracket, like that one, which is Arkansas wins the national championship, and they make documentaries about how hard this season was, and how Nick Smith wasn't going to come back, and then he was, and Brazil getting hurt, and just
I
the
don't.
struggles.
It's
And
the bracket I filled out on
well,
March
I'm saying that's
Madness
not
app.
impossible. That's what every team is. Every team, it's Christmas. Every team is,
Yeah.
you know, has the chance that Santa Claus will bring you the gift.
I wanted to just do a this is this is the problem. So you're like, why don't you just have Arkansas win the whole thing? As long as you're just being crazy and doing and like you're just beating Kansas and Gonzaga and St. Mary's and Texas, why not do the whole thing? The problem is I saw Alabama play in the SEC tournament, and like even as homer as I'm trying to be, I just don't know who. Like, I mean, if I'm filling out the entirely legit bracket, I can guarantee you this: I have Alabama winning the whole thing.
Mhm.
I just think Alabama is like just playing out like crazy right now.
I agree that Alabama's A game beats pretty much anybody I've seen out there. If those shooters are hitting, I mean they've got everything you would want. There's nothing else you
Mm-hmm.
could want. They've got a star player that can get a bucket anytime with a crazy body, and they got shooters all around him, and they got a big man. It's like I don't know what else you want. And um, but they obviously, just like any team, they could lose. They could go out,
They could.
roll out a. But it'll have to be because they go out and lay a stinker out there. You know what I mean? I just play a bad game. Um, it's hard to imagine them getting in a like shootout with somebody and losing,
Yeah,
where it's just like one of those games where like it's just everybody's playing well. It's hard to imagine them playing well and losing
yeah,
because when they play well, they score 100 points.
yeah, dude. I just Alabama playing well is the best team I've seen this year. And I've
Mhm.
watched quite a bit of basketball. I haven't seen anybody live. Yeah, I've seen Purdue. I've watched Kansas. I've watched Houston, Alabama. I just think Alabama's better. Uh, but
Purdue
but
is scary. That guy's large.
also as a little bit of just as a totally aside, and this has to do with next year. Maybe I guess we could talk about this in the whole season recap. But Chris Beard coming to the SEC as he accepts the job to be the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. Don't love that, not because of any stuff that happened with him. I just don't need another coach like that in this league.
I know. I feel like whenever I see,
And by like that, I don't mean any of that stuff. I mean like really, really good coaches.
well, that yeah, I mean I do feel like the SEC is like electing all the good coaches from the last 10 years. We just need Tom Izzo to come over here
Yeah.
and I don't know, Mark Few, and then like every other coach I see, I'm like they're somebody that has potential that's like coming up. You know what I mean? Like Duke
Mm,
has a new coach and stuff, and UConn has a new coach stuff. But like the coaches that were like great coaches for the last 15 years, I feel like they're all in the SEC now.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. So, man, that's something. All right, man. Do you have any other thoughts? I'm excited. I mean, I'm gonna be, you know,
What time
but
do they have the times yet
they
for
do,
the?
yeah. Hmm.
What time does Arkansas play?
Arkansas plays, I believe, at 3:30. Let me tell you. Uh, Arkansas versus Illinois, 3:30 on TBS.
Cool. Yeah, I wish I had nothing to do. Wish I was. I love it.
Uh, uh,
One March Madness ever in my life. I just didn't have any work that week, and I just sat around all day long, starting at noon, and watched basketball
I have
Thursday,
one.
Friday, Saturday.
I have like one meeting on Thursday, nothing on Friday, on purpose. Unfortunately, I do have travel basketball on the weekend, which is going to be brutal. But
Yeah, especially if Arkansas wins.
it is what it is.
My daughter plays too. She plays for her first spring game on Saturday, but it'll be
Oh, are they
local.
playing the same place? Maybe. Are you
Uh,
playing in Ben? Are you
is it?
playing in Ben? Are you playing in Bentonville?
I actually don't have the details yet, but
I might see you there.
hmm,
All right. We have daughters there. Well, he
can
has
be
several daughters.
excruciating though to be all those games will be going on.
Yeah, dude. Well, all right, man. Well, we will definitely be back here. We'll be recapping this stuff for sure. So we'll be back here probably on Thursday night, late afternoon, whatever Jake is able to do, whatever I'm able to do. But we'll get something out on Thursday for sure.
Yep. All right.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you
All
later.
right. See
Bye.
you then. Bye.